What's good, YouTube? Swiftly here, back with another NBA 2K25 video, and in today's video I'm actually bringing you guys our very first episode of NBA player builds in NBA 2K25. Now, I already discussed NBA player template builds and whatnot on the channel already. I might link that video down below, but in most cases I've learned that you can make a better build by creating the build yourself. There are a couple of NBA templates that are better to make just because you can get their signature animations without having the proper attribute thresholds. But outside of that, most of the time you can make your own version of that player much better. So as you can see on your screen, we have the NBA template version of Luka Doncic, and you can see the stats and whatnot on the screen. And then we will actually be making our own version, which personally I think is a better version of Luka Doncic's build that will play much better, as far as Luka Doncic's play style and whatnot. So with that being said, let's jump into the video. Hopefully you guys enjoy this video. Please be sure to drop a like, comment, and subscribe for more content. I'll be right back. Okay, so with that being said, let's jump right into our build. Obviously, we're going to make this build at the point guard position because he plays point guard / shooting guard. We're going to make it at point guard so that we most likely will be getting put at the point guard position. Height, we're going 6'6" because if you check pretty much anywhere online, Luka is listed as 6'6". He's no longer listed as 6'7". He's listed as 6'6", on ESPN, on NBA.com, even on the actual rosters for NBA 2K25, he's listed as 6'6" now. He's no longer listed as 6'7". And he's probably not even 6'6", to be honest, because I know that ESPN and NBA, they often get the height listings kind of wrong, but we're going to go 6'6", just so that we're on the taller side of things. Weight, he is 230 pounds, so we're going to go 230. And then wingspan, you can tweak this however you like. If you want longer wingspan, you can go longer wingspan. But me personally, I kind of like leaving it default just because of the better shooting stats. But one thing I will say about these NBA player builds is that you're going to run into, what I like to call the, three option dilemma, right? And that is the sense that a lot of these players, like the superstars and the star players, their builds are just completely unobtainable with what we have with the builder, and you kind of have to choose your poison. Either you want your player to have like the same physical stature as them, like you want them to be the exact height as the player that you're trying to make, the weight, the wingspan, or you want them to have the exact attributes as them so they can play like them, or you want them to have the exact badges that they have so that they can play like them. But either or, it is extremely difficult to get all three. You look at a player like maybe Luka, a player like LeBron, a player like Kevin Durant, a player like Victor Wembanyama, even a player like Anthony Davis. It is so hard to create players like that because their attributes, their badges, their specific, physical traits, their height, their weight, is just nearly impossible, to make a player, exactly like that build. Like, for example, it's kind of hard to make a player like Zion play like Zion as far as his weight, his stature, his, attributes, the badges he has and stuff. So for some of these builds, you're going to have to sacrifice some things. So again, keep that in mind. I'm trying to make this build play as close as possible to Luka, as close as possible. Not that we're going to get this exactly to a T, but as close as we possibly can. So for the finishing, I went with a 75 on a close shot. I went with a 90 on the driving layup because he's, really good at finishing in the paint. Then the driving dunk, I went with a 73 because he does dunk. He has dunk on some people here and there. He can finish, We got a 45 on the standing dunk because, again, he can dunk the ball. And then with the post control, I went with the 77 on the post control, which gives us a fair amount of post badges because Luka can and does play out of the post fairly often. I think that is a very, very, when I see a lot of people making these builds, I don't see a lot of people putting the emphasis on his post game. And his post game is what makes him so deadly because he's one of those taller, bigger guards, and he can, throw those smaller guards in the post and kind of just abuse them. Um, him, guys like, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, the taller PGs, they kind of get away with, you know, bodying up and bruising and kind of posting up those smaller guards. And then you even got some smaller guards that will, post people up and stuff like that. Like CP3 kind of plays out of the post sometimes. Rondo would like to post up here and there. Obviously, that's not their go-to, but, even though they're smaller guards and as far as height goes, they still throw the post game in there. I think this is a very underrated aspect of his game. It makes him so much more versatile because he can score at all three levels. And then if you add the post, that's like a fourth level kind of. So, it is something that I don't see a lot of people emphasizing a lot. They throw a little post control on there, but they don't really emphasize it as they should. So I went with 77, and then obviously, depending on what your rep level is, if you have cap breakers, you can get this up to get, some more higher levels of these badges. But these badges should all be at least like silver or gold, if I'm not mistaken. So moving on for the shooting, mid-range, nothing crazy. Even though he can score in the mid-range, we got a 77 on the mid-range, and then we got an 87 on the three ball. Now, obviously, you can go up to 89 because this build caps out at 89. So if you feel like you want to put, some attributes on there and go higher, you can go +2 on there to get you up to an 89. Get you some silver limitless range. Gold set shot specialist, which I wouldn't mind doing that as well too. Gold set shot, silver limitless, things of that nature, and then higher level of shifty shooter as well too. And then we do got an 80 on the free throw. He's not that great of a free throw shooter, but he can knock down his free throws, especially I would say in the last 2 years, he's definitely improved his free throw shooting. As a Dallas Mavericks fan, his free throw shooting is one of the more frustrating things about him. Outside of him complaining to the refs, his free throw shooting was kind of, just bad, in his earlier years. But this is his 6th season going into his 7th season in the league. He's kind of gotten better at shooting and, being a little bit more consistent when it comes to knocking down his free throws. So I'm going in with an 80 free throw. Nothing crazy, but also nothing too poor. You should be able to, hit at an 85+% clip with an 80 free throw and a free throw that you like. I personally don't think you need to use Luka's free throw. Personally, I like to use Kevin Durant's. I like to use Steph Curry's, another one. CP3, Kyrie Irving, Anthony Davis for, bigger builds. There's so many good free throws. Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant. There's so many good free throw animations in this game that you really shouldn't be shooting less than 80%, 85% from free throw at any point. As long as you got an 80+ free throw, you should be shooting, at a pretty high clip rate, just because how good these free throw animations are that we have access to. Moving on to playmaking, we're going with a 91 on the pass accuracy, which is kind of on the lower end. And then we're going with a 92 on the ball handle. And then we're going 75 on the speed with ball. So, kind of low on the speed with ball. But the thing is, Luka Doncic, if you watch his game and you actually watch him play, he's not really fast with the ball. He's quick with the ball. But, his specialty, or what he excels at, is his ability to decelerate. Really, like, he plays at his own pace. He can speed up and he can be quick off the dribble, but his ability to decelerate at the stop of a dime and just stop, hit you with a floater, stop, hit you with a little mid-range fade away from the basket and whatnot, that's really where he excels at. So his speed with ball, I mean, yeah, you do have an 84 speed with ball, but I didn't go crazy high on the speed with ball because that's not really his play style. And also, you need an 86 to get gold, so there's really no point in me going crazy high. Yes, if you want to be quicker with the ball, obviously you can go higher than 75. But me personally, I'm going to be playing a much slower more slower pace, methodical kind of game with a build like this. You're also going to have your post control and your post badges, so you'll be able to use that to your advantage too. It's not going to just be about being fast, zipping around the court, all of that nature and whatnot. You're going to be able to lull your defender to sleep with this build. You know what I'm saying? Then we have the 91 pass accuracy. Obviously, you could put some cap breakers on there, get that up there. I personally will put +5 on there, or +4, I should say, just for versatile visionary, because he should have gold versatile visionary. Realistically speaking, that would also get you a gold bailout. Pretty much all of these badges gold, as well as Hall of Fame dimer and break starter. But more importantly, the versatile visionary is really what we want. But I had to budget just so that we could get other aspects of his game. We are going to be rocking a 74 perimeter defense. Now, personally, I don't think he's as bad as a defender as a lot of people make him out to be, but that does not really mean that he should be a 74, perimeter rated defender. I don't think he should have a 74 perimeter defense, but this still is NBA 2K, and you want to be capable enough to stay in front of your man. So 74 perimeter defense is like the absolute minimum. If you want to be able to play consistent defense, you want to be able to like box your man. Yeah, you could box people with like 40. I got 40 on my first guard, and I play really good defense, but sometimes dudes sneak past me because I don't have on-ball minutes. I don't have, the clamps badge. I can't lock on to them. They just bump off me or push off with me strong handle. So that's really the reason why you kind of want to up that perimeter defense, up that strength. So 74 perimeter defense, and then we're not touching really anything else. There's some stuff that's going to go up, but it's going to go up because of other things that we're putting up. And then moving on, we're going straight to the rebounding, and we're going with an 80 defensive rebound because the man is a good rebounder. He is. Like he runs like a similar type of offensive scheme like, Russell Westbrook did in OKC, where they kind of like Luka to grab the rebound because he's able to lead the break. He's such a good passer that he can get that ball up the floor. Even if he, isn't going to lead a fast break or anything off the rebound, he'll see somebody down the floor, throw the ball down. Even his short stint so far with the Lakers, I've seen him, like, air out crazy passes down to, like, LeBron or, like, Austin Reeves or Rui Hachimura and whatnot. So that's why I want that 80 defensive rebound. That's going to give us silver rebound chaser. And you're going to be able to come down there and help your team board up with an 80 D board. So if you, got a small forward or power forward that ain't really helping, you can always come down there and crash, help play some D by grabbing the boards and, ending the other team's possession. And then finally we have the physicals, which again, like I said, he isn't really super fast. Like, he plays at his own pace. His ability to decelerate at, the stop of a dime is really what makes him so deadly. And that's kind of hard to mimic in NBA 2K. But he isn't that fast, so we aren't going to go crazy with the physicals. 80 speed, 80 agility is enough to, chase people around and play defense and whatnot, move quickly. And then with the strength, we're going with 79 on the strength. And the reason why I'm going with 79 on the strength is because that's going to help us with those badges. You see right there, we're going to have gold unpluckable with the ball handle. But everything else is going to be due to our post control. We're going to have silver hook specialist. We're going to have silver post fade phenom. We're going to have silver post powerhouse. And we're going to have silver post up poet. So you're going to be able to post up. You're going to be able to hit post fadeaway shots. You're going to be able to drop step. You're going to be able to shoot hook shots. And if you want to post spin cheese, you'll be able to post spin cheese, especially if you throw a +1 on there. Because remember, all of these post up badges are all tier 2 badges. So you'll be able to throw your +1 on there and get gold post fade phenom or post powerhouse or even post up poet and spin cheese people to death if that's what you want to do. Because again, those are all tier 2 badges. You know what I'm saying? So you could go crazy if you really want to go crazy, and then still have your +1 to throw on, either gold shifty shooter or even putting, your +2 to your 3, getting you gold set shot specialist, and then putting your +1 on set shot specialist for Hall of Fame, or even, putting +2 on limitless range. Your 3 to get silver limitless range, and then putting that on +1, or even +1
for your dead eye. You have just different things that you can do as far as your offense goes. And you can even go on defense if you feel like you need, challenger silver or on-ball minute silver. Not that I would recommend that, but you can go that route if that's what you choose to do. And then finally, last but not least, the rest of our points, we just throw that into vertical, getting the 65 vertical to round us out. And it's also going to help us get bronze posterizer. So we have that bronze posterizer, bronze aerial wizard, and bronze pogo stick. So to me, this is kind of like a really well-rounded Luka build. You have mid-range, you got 3, you got a high level of layup. And again, like I said, if you decide that you don't want to use your your plus 1 for tier 2 for your poster badges, you can always use that plus 1 on layup mixmaster and really be a high level finisher with gold physical finisher, gold float game, and gold layup mixmaster to go along with that strength that you have. Gold strong handle, you're getting to the rim at will whenever you want. And then the best part is, if you do decide that maybe you don't want to put your plus 5 on pass accuracy, maybe you don't want to put, maybe you want to just put plus 2 or plus 1 on your shooting to get your set shot specialist, or maybe you got more than that. Maybe you got more than plus 5 for your cap breakers. You can then put those plus 5 or plus 4 onto your strength and get Hall of Fame strong handle, throw a plus 1 on there, and now you're looking at legend strong handle, and you're really getting to the basket at ease, just like how Luka does, with his bruising nature, using his size to his advantage. But the thing is, you're versatile. You can do it all, just like how Luka is. You can play make, you can pass the ball, you can dribble the ball, you can shoot the 3, you can shoot the midi, you can post up, you can dunk the ball, you can finish at a high level, whether it's a layup, whether it's a hook, whether it's a post fade, whatever. It's dealer's choice when you're playing on a build like this. And then, of course, we'll have, our build name, which I think it's a 3-level playmaker or something like that, or a 3-level scoring playmaker, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see what the name is. Okay, playmaker inside out threat. I could have sworn it was a 3-level. But playmaker inside out threat. There you have it. This is my Luka Doncic build for NBA 2K25. Please be sure to drop a like, comment, and subscribe for more NBA 2K25 content. I'm out, y'all. Peace.